Hey, hold up, man. I got something to say, man. Wait. What y'all out here for, man? What you here for, huh? Does your life matter? Does your life matter? You ready for this? You ready to take control?
Hey everybody, this is Brian Dare with the Workshop Podcast. I'm with Colorado Homebuilding Academy, and I'm with Winston Nurse, who is also with the Colorado Homebuilding Academy today. He's one of our instructors, amongst other things, and we'll get into the details on that. But Winston, thank you so much for joining us, and appreciate you contributing your experience to our listeners here.
No problem. Pleasure to do it.
Thank you so much. So give us a little bit of your background. I know that you have a lot of experience in different fields. Can you tell us a little bit about your career journey up to this point?
Okay. My career started really in construction, actually about 15 years ago. But before that, I did a lot of construction on my own. I didn't really go into it as a business until recently, as far as, the last 15 years. I've always done work around my home. I've built decks, stuff like that. I got interested in it when I was a boy. I mean, I was living in a very small home with two brothers and a sister. And this carpenter came to our house, and he was repairing a door for my grandma. And he had no power tools. There were no power tools, I guess, back then. He had a handheld auger. He had a giant, at least what looked to me like a big wooden plane. And he did all that work with just hand tools. And the interesting thing was I was the only one who sat there and listened to him. My other siblings were off doing other things. I sat there for hours watching this guy, and I was hooked. From then on, I've always had tools or interested in doing work having to do with tools. Nice. And I enlisted in the Air Force when I was 19. And they gave me an exam, first of all. I had not studied any technology. My whole high school career was academic, meaning I was going to go to college. Started, left, this was during the Vietnam War, and I enlisted in the Air Force. And they came back, they gave me this exam, and they came back and said, man, you did really well in technology. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? I did good in electronics. I had never studied any electronics. They put me into electronics, automatic flight control systems, autopilot. Oh, nice. Yeah. I loved it. I mean, it was like I wasn't working. It was like a hobby for me. I enjoyed it. And I would have stayed in, except my wife says, I'm going home after 4 years because I was gone a lot. So I got out, and I basically stayed in that field. I worked with copiers and worked for a small company in New York, fixing copiers. And then I moved on to Xerox, did that for 23 years, again, fixing copiers and then going into management. But while that career was going, I was still collecting tools and building stuff, and I make all kinds of things. I love to paint. I love to do anything that has to do with my hands. Working in an office was not for me. Couldn't do it. I did it once. I did it between high school and starting college. That month, I worked for Chase Manhattan Bank, and it was not for me.
I've done some banking myself, and I can empathize with you with your lack of.
I've never worked in an office. I know people. I've got siblings that have done it for years, but I couldn't do it. I had to be moving around, going from place to place, and that's what United Photo did for me, and what Xerox did. And working in my own business, Xerox started downsizing around the early 2000s. So I found myself out of a job. And I said, okay, we started fixing our home. I started doing work on the house, me and my wife. And she invited a friend of hers over. And we're sitting there having dinner, and she's looking around, and she says, who's doing this work for you guys? And my wife says, well, we are. She said, like, what do you mean we are? Like, who's doing it? Says Winston and me. We're repairing the house. She hired us. That's how the business got started. She hired us, paid us like $15,000 to go remodel her kitchen.
So you weren't planning on starting a business
I really, no, I was basically at home, doing things that I, would normally do if I wasn't working, which was mainly, I love to make stuff. I've learned to turn wood. I've compiled a bunch of tools that do exactly what I need done and do it professionally. Right. And I've done this for years. This was always a sideline along with my regular job, and I've always enjoyed it. I tell people, if you find what you really are designed to do, get that, I call it a God-given talent, that talent that you have, you'll never work a day in your life, and you will love it, and people will pay you. that's a fascinating thing.
That's good.
My wife went out and back to college and worked in interior design, and it was like a mesh. It worked for both of us. She would do the interior design, and I would come in and swing the hammer. And we really never had to advertise. Our customers did the advertising. They would see the work, they would hire us, and then tell their friends. So we were getting calls, and sometimes we were backed up. And I would tell customers, I can't get to you for a month. I can't get to you for 6 weeks. They would actually wait. And the reason why they were waiting is because they knew what kind of work they were going to get.
Right.
Because we really put a lot of heart into what we were doing. We wanted it done well. So that's how I got started. It was purely by
I appreciate that. So there's a few questions I want to follow up there with your story, but just to the most recent thing you mentioned, you and your wife both found something you really enjoyed that happened to also really work together.
Correct.
As a business, and it sounds like just that putting pride into what you did, doing it really well, and people knowing exactly what they're going to receive when it comes to your product, just made people come to you and help that business. I love that where the business basically got started with someone who just said, I want you to do my project.
I think a lot of times that's how businesses get started. People start their business in basements, and someone sees it and goes, hey, I want to buy that. Right now I'm into building guitars. I just made another one. Would you like to see it?
I would like to see it. Oh man, those look beautiful. I play guitar. I don't really play electric very much, but those are great.
Yeah, that's I get those kits, and I wanted to see if I could actually make the body, and I can. Unfortunately, making the body would be a lot more expensive than just buying the kit and finishing it. But for me, this is a hobby. Working in construction for me was my hobby. It's like a gift that I go out and I like doing it. It's not work. I don't think I've ever worked in a job for any length of time where I didn't like going. And that's because the kind of work that I've done has always involved tools of some kind or learning. I'll come home from a job, and if I didn't fully understand it, I'd be doing homework. I'd be trying to master that. I just enjoy doing it.
I love that. Let me rewind in your story a bit, because I think this would be really helpful for a lot of folks who are trying to figure out whether they're really early in their career and they're trying to figure out what they want to do with their lives, maybe fresh out of high school, for example, or let's say that they're mid or late career and they've never really, first of all, they don't really feel like they have a career, and it definitely doesn't feel like a calling, like you just mentioned too. I think, the word vocation means calling, and so there's unfortunately, in some ways, we've started using the word vocation as to just the kind of the job that you go to, whereas it really means life calling. What are you here for? What is your purpose here? And you reference that in your understanding of work. I love that. But let me rewind to kind of the beginning. You had mentioned you worked at Chase briefly, knew that the office wasn't for you, went into the military, took this exam that opened up some new opportunity there. I love how it sounds like in your career you gave very little tolerance for what you didn't enjoy doing, and a high focus for what you enjoyed doing. And I think there's something really important there. how would you I mean, it sounds like that exam, even in the Air Force, was really beneficial to finding something that you were good at. You would have had no idea that you were good at that and spent years and years of your life doing that in technology.
Right.
How would you recommend someone, maybe they're not going in, I hear that that exam is still a thing in the military. I've heard it's quite good. So military, of course, is one route for people. But let's say they're not going into the military. What would you say is a good way for them to discover early on what they would love to do and what they might be good at? They've never really explored that.
Explore it. Like for me, if you like working with your hands, construction is one of those areas that will tell you if that's for you. I find that construction or building something is one, especially construction, like fixing a home, for example, is one of those things that's win-win. Let's say you learn how to build a house, how to build a deck, how to paint, how to patch wallboard. That's a win-win. You can't lose, whether you go into the business or not. If you go into the business, you're going to make money. If you decide, you know what, I like it was good, I know how to do it, but it's not for me. Guess what? When something breaks in your house, you can fix it. You've just saved money.
Right.
So it's win-win. Yeah. You can't lose by taking this.
You don't have to do it full time. At least you know how to fix something now.
Exactly. And I didn't do it full time at the beginning. I was out there fixing copiers and managing people fixing copiers. But because I wasn't an office person, when I went into management with them, I didn't have to stay in the office. I could go right with the technician. So I was always doing what was good for me as far as liking the job. But what I'm doing now, it's a give back. I mean, I could stay home and build things, but what I'm doing right now is, and my wife and other people have said, why aren't you training people to do this? That's what was happening when I was running my business. Like, why aren't you getting an apprentice, some young kid? A lot of times they weren't out there, or at least I didn't know them. So this door, when it opened at the Academy, was a way of giving back, taking what I already know and passing it on to a new generation or people who are looking to switch careers. Yeah. And you can't lose. You can't lose. That's the thing I try to tell people. Yeah. I've made so much money doing what I do as far as fixing my own home, saving the money, or doing it for someone else. It's a winner.
Right. I love that. So it sounds like your career has taken on a lot of different shapes, but all of it has been things, for the grand majority of it has been things you enjoy doing that didn't feel like overbearing work, like just punching the clock and that's it. Just getting a paycheck and that's it. So I loved all that. And like you said, it's taken a lot of different shapes. You've been in technology, you've been in construction, you've been in instructing our students at the Colorado Homebuilding Academy. And so that's, I think, important too, when we consider what our career might look like early on or mid-career, is it might take a lot of different shapes. I mean, I myself have been in 3 very different fields, and have enjoyed what I do and learned some really important things in all 3 fields. So you had mentioned exploring is one way to do that. Just like you may patch a drywall, now you know how to do it. You may have not enjoyed it all that much. You may say, this is what I want to do with my job. What would you say are some great ways to explore? If someone says, hey, I want to try to sort that out, maybe they're thinking specifically about construction. There's plenty of other fields we could look at too, but what would you say, where to start? What would be the first steps you would recommend someone take?
Well, right now, we've got students in the classes that I said, hey, maybe you ought to look at this. The Academy is a great place to start if you're looking to go into this industry at all, or just learning how to repair stuff in your own home. That's a great place to start. Talk to people, talk to people that do the kind of work that you might be interested in. How do you like this job?
Right.
How do you get into this job? What's good? What don't you like about it? What's the toughest part about it? What's the best parts? Find out, talk to people. You'd be amazed at how much information people have that sometimes you don't find out about, even family members, unless you ask them. You know, you seek out the knowledge. That's a big chunk of the kind of career that you're going to have. You work for a long time, 30, 40 years. If it's not something that you really like to do, you are hurting. You really are. I mean, get the knowledge, keep learning. You're never too young or too old to learn stuff. You know, I do it all the time. I love working with equipment. I love working with tools. I love fixing things. If I don't understand it, I get a book. Like a lot of the construction that I learned is from books. The first deck I ever built, I bought a book, How to Build Decks. That's how I learned.
Man, that's great.
You know, so and then people also, like when we were working or in our business, like I'm not an electrician, I'm not a plumber, but I know how to do them. But I've had friends who are master electricians, they're master plumbers, they know HVAC. They're all over the place, and you see them working, you walk over and talk to them. My next door neighbor was into construction, so I'd walk over there and go, hey, he was putting up siding on the side of his house and putting in windows. So I walk over and say, do you need any help? I learned how to do siding. I learned how to replace doors and windows. I've never hired anybody to do any of that stuff because I know how to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
So get knowledge. Above all, get knowledge and apply it.
Yeah,
and you'll do well.
That's great. I love that. So I love how, you know, just talking with people who do it, spending some time helping them for free. I mean, and just getting that knowledge goes a long way. What's that?
I've done that a lot. I've gone and just volunteered just to get the knowledge. It's funny, you know, when you say like I'm getting this for free, a lot of times you're not. You're giving it for free. You're not, because you're getting something back. Right. You may not be, you're getting that knowledge, which is going to pay you dividends down the road. So all the free labor I've given out, they've given me something back that has made me money later on. Yeah. Yeah.
You're volunteering your time to get knowledge that people will gladly pay handsomely for in another context. Absolutely. Yeah, that's good. And I love how you're talking, especially my generation, I think, who's maybe, you know, dad never taught them how to fix stuff or whatever. If that's the case, if someone finds themselves in, they never had that kind of generational passing down of those kind of skills, just going out there and doing it kind of overcomes that fear that I could never figure this out. I think that's a big fear for a lot of people.
Right. I think what we get from the academy is we put that fear away. That fear is removed. You walk into a construction, when guys who go through this our course here, when they walk into a construction site, they already have skills. They know what a reciprocating saw is. Like you ask the average person on the street, you know what a reciprocating? They won't have any idea. But our students will. They know what a miter saw is, and they know how to use them. They know how to use drill. They know how to use the basic things that would cause you fear walking into a construction site going, hey, can you use some help? That's gone. I mean, we put that away. I didn't have that when we started. I wish we had an academy when I was 20, because it would have saved me a lot of years and a lot of time. And I wouldn't have had to buy all those books. You see, so
learning something from
put all that aside. You find out right away if you like doing this. You find out right away if you're really gonna benefit from it, and you see right away, yeah, I'm gonna benefit from this, even if I don't work in construction. I can go home and fix that hole in my wall now.
There we go. Yeah. I find that over and over again, that there's a lot of people interested in construction. So many times I hear from students coming in that their ultimate goal, they do want to work in construction, but their ultimate goal is they want to build their own tiny home or build their own home. Or they want to go into their own business and they want to be in building. They want to work with their hands, but they've never done it before. They've never swung. They don't know if they can swing a hammer properly or not. and they've never been, they've never been up close and personal with a miter saw. And so knowing that there's someone that can kind of gently guide them through that process. Yeah. So at the other end, they're confident with those things, overcomes this major mental hurdle that stands in people's way when they think about building things or fixing things or being in the construction industry. And so, yeah, we appreciate your work with helping and walk them through that exact thing.
Yes. We emphasize a lot on safety, because I think a lot of times when people look at power tools, they think safety, like I'm going to get hurt working on that thing. And you can. The equipment that we use, the equipment that I have here that I work with, are and can be very dangerous. You can get seriously injured. I've been doing this for 35, 40 years. I still have all my fingers. I've seen a lot of people who don't. And the reason for that is when I buy a power tool that I've never used before, I actually read the instructions. I read the safety things. Like right now I do a lot of lathe work. And I remember when I get that machine, it says, make sure you don't have anything, because it'll get wrapped up in the material, in the wood that you're turning. Like if you have long hair, if you have loose clothing, and it happens very quickly. It can pull things right in very quickly. So safety is a big issue, and we cover that a lot. We go over it a lot. So when you get out, you feel comfortable around that miter saw. You know how to use it. You know what it's going to do. You know where the dangers are and how to stay away from them. And that's true of all the different tools. And they have experience there. And we've been you're going to get cuts, you're going to get abrasions, sometimes you'll get burned, but nothing that will keep you from being able to go back to work the next day, which is what we concentrate on.
Yeah.
That you shouldn't get injured. Will you get splinters? Yes.
Right.
But that's part of it.
Yeah. I think that's again, it's so good. If you can't go back to the job after you're done, then that's going to be a problem. So learning how to use things.
What happens? Like whoever, like Robert teaches, goes through the part where like ladder safety. Who teaches anyone to properly climb a ladder? I've never heard that until I came to the academy, and I have fallen off of it. Like a step ladder is very unstable when you're working on it sideways, especially the light ones.
Right.
And I remember building a deck. It was an upper deck. And I reached over to get some. The ladder just tilted right out from under me. Fortunately, I was hanging. I could hang on the but the ladder fell over. Most people don't think about things like that. How easy it is for a step ladder to tilt over from under you if you lean over. And all that stuff's covered. So you feel comfortable, you know what to do. So it's safe. Yeah.
On the ladder thing, I took the boot camp myself as a new employee at the Colorado Homebuilding Academy, and I remember the ladder the safety part of it. And I was even using a ladder just outside my home here recently, and it was on like a rocky, really uneven surface. And I was about ready to walk up it. And normally I would have just I would have gone up it and just kind of hoped for the best. And then I realized, this is really a precarious type situation. If I fall off this is going to really ruin my day. So I just learned the importance of making sure that thing was stable, and I knew that it was not going to tip on me when I was walking up it. And don't just try it. Yeah, that's good. Let me rewind a bit. It's something you were talking about earlier about, again, exploring and trying things out, volunteering your time, going to a place like the Colorado Homebuilding Academy. And for those listening, I think I may have mentioned it briefly, but Winston has been teaching in our high school youth apprenticeship program at the Colorado Homebuilding Academy for some time. And then more recently, he's been doing some teaching in our construction skills boot camp. That's a program that's anywhere between a month long to 6 weeks long to teach you foundational construction skills, carpentry, safety, tool handling, a little bit of blueprint reading, and lots of hands-on training. He's been doing that on the job sites themselves with builders like Taylor Morrison and Oakwood Homes, that we partner with over the warm weather months to not only teach our skills, but to give them some interaction with the home building process and home building professionals on site. So he's been in a really rapid period of time, been preparing adults who are looking for new or different careers in construction and introducing them to that. So that's an opportunity for you if you're listening to this. If you're looking for a new career in construction, is the training that we offer there. We don't offer the on-site training when it's cold in the wintertime, but we continue the same kind of training that happens there on-site with Taylor Morrison, Oakwood Homes, on our campus on the north side of Denver. There's a great facility that we have there that we've got great instructors like Winston that will be teaching individuals who are looking to get into that career. But let me shift gears from that. And I would ask Winston, I'm curious as to what you would tell somebody whenever you're learning something new, there's a bit of discomfort. You feel, you don't feel like you know what you're doing. There might even be some resistance when you start because you feel new and uncomfortable and maybe even feel a little stupid because you've never done this before. How long would you recommend someone, what would you say the trial period should look like before someone decides this is not for me, I don't like it, and move on to something else?
That's a good question. I've never really thought about how long. If you're doing this kind of work, and or let's say you take the course, and you'll probably know right away. I would guess probably 3 or 4 days. And we've had people that stop coming after 2 or 3 days. I don't think they gave it enough time. Yeah. Because sometimes or maybe they decide, I already know most of this stuff. We've got students that go through who know most of this stuff already. Mm-hmm. As far as the power tools and stuff like that is concerned, I find that first of all, I try to scare you as far as the safety part is concerned. Yeah. I let you know what that tool will do to you. I mean, it'll cut your finger off. By the time you feel the pain, the finger's already gone. Right. I scared them up front, and then I showed them, how to keep that from happening. Right, and by the end of the course, they're using that, and the fear is gone. I try to get them to the point where don't fear the tool, but respect this tool. Right. It'll do amazing work for you, and it does. So I don't think we have any. I've never seen anyone that go 2 weeks, 3 weeks, who are still afraid of the equipment we have. They know how to use it. They know how to set it up. They know what it will do. They know exactly how to use it properly. Mm-hmm. And the fear is gone. Now, personally, I have this fear of rooftops. Interesting. I'll go up on a ladder 2 or 3 stories. But if I have to step off onto a roof, it's an irrational fear. I know it because I know I'm not going to fall, but I won't do it. When I was in the Air Force, I used to work on a C-121, which had a very high stabilator on it, like 30 feet in the air, something like that. I would get on a cherry picker and I would go up there and I would step off onto that wing, trying to conquer that fear. I never conquered it. I still have that fear. So if you have a fear that you can't conquer, I don't know if you'll get over it, but if it's a fear that comes from not understanding how to use something, you'll get over that.
Yeah, no, I hear that. Okay, so that's really helpful, I think. There's a level of discomfort to push through, but there does come a point where you realize, for example, if you got someone who says, I've been working X job, whatever, whatever job, and it pays the bills just fine, but I don't enjoy it. I've been doing it for a year. I've been doing it for 2 years because I see some people. There's 2 kinds of people. There's some people that bail way too fast. They give a job 2 days and run, And then you got other people that are the opposite problem. They've been working a job they hate for 3 years. And what do you recommend to that person where it's like the steady paycheck is keeping them there and that's it? What do you recommend to that person as they're trying to find what they're good at, what they love doing, and what contributes to the world?
Do what I was doing. I had a regular job, which I love. But I also love this. I love construction. I love working with tools. I love cutting wood. So I had my regular job. And I also had this side thing going on that, interestingly enough, when that job went away, I had this to fall back on. There's
Right.
nothing wrong with having more than one stream of income. There's nothing
Yes.
wrong with knowing how to do stuff that you can go to I've done this, go to like some of these craft fairs and stuff, and put your wares out there. I used to do that from the time I was 19. You build
Nice.
things, you work on things, you paint, whatever you do. And you go out to these craft stores, these craft fairs, and you put your wares. People will buy them.
Yeah.
And the more you do it, the better you become. I wouldn't necessarily say quit your job and go do this. You understand? If you've got a job that's paying the bills, you got to pay the bills.
Right.
Those are going to be coming at you every month. But if you have an opportunity to say, you know what, I can probably learn another career also that you may like even better, and that might even replace that one, why not?
Right.
Learn it.
Right. Sure. So you can learn your next job, as it were, while you're doing your
current
work one.
Yeah. I've always
right,
done.
exactly.
There are a lot of
good.
different things that I've done over the years. I didn't just say, well, this is my job. It's going to pay my electric bill and my light. It's going to do this. And then come home and become a couch potato. I don't think that's beneficial. Get as much knowledge as you can. And at some point, it's going to link up with what you really like doing. I know people, my sister sews. She can sew like no one's business. She makes stuff that I'm amazed. She makes men's shirts. Like, who does that? She sewed them. But she also had another job, and she did these things on the side.
Yeah.
Gain that knowledge. Get those skills. Hone them. Develop them. You never know what doors will open as a result of what you have done and what you have put into it. The knowledge you have gained. It happens. And it works.
It sounds like something you mentioned too, as you're gaining that knowledge, both either from books or by practicing it. And you already mentioned this, by people that you're spending time with as well and learning from. And they could be the pathway to your next job too. There might be a time when they're hiring and they know someone who's hiring, and then suddenly you've got this door that could be something very different than what you're currently doing and not enjoying, to something else. Yeah, that's good. I really appreciate all that, Winston. So you've been teaching high schoolers quite a bit as well. Mm-hmm. What are some things that, having spent quite a bit of time with high schoolers and even adults who are either new or early in their careers, what are some character qualities? What are some personality traits that you would recommend they develop as they're thinking about work? What does the next generation of skilled tradespeople, workers need? What would you recommend to them that they think about as they think about work?
Do the best job that you possibly can. When my wife and I, Rose, that's my wife, when we walked into a job, when we left there, that was an excellent job. We never rushed. In the whole 15 years that we were working with our business, we never took on 2 customers at the same time. Never did. When I was working for this customer, they had my full attention. I wasn't going there in the morning and then running over to another job. And I've seen people do that. It was just our way of doing it. So we gave that customer our full attention. If the job was going to take a week, it took a week or less. If I told them it was going to take 6 weeks, it took 6 weeks or less. And usually I was always aiming for the less. So we always give them the worst scenario and then deliver the best. We've gone back to jobs that we've worked on. We did kitchens and baths. And you go back to how they invite you back for whatever reason, a luncheon or whatever, and you sit there and you look at the work that you've done, and sometimes I'm amazed because now I know what it was like when I left. We did the tiling, made the cabinetry, installed the flooring, everything, and then you leave. But then when you go back and you see what they've added, how they have decorated it and made it really like you're a lot of times we would be in awe. It's like, wow, did we do this?
Huh.
I have had that feeling a lot when you go back and you
That's
look
really
at the
cool.
work and you go, we did this. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And they're just as appreciative. If you do good work, you do quality work, people love it. That's why they wait for you. That's why we never had to have jobs stacked up. That's why we never had to take anyone's money before we start the job. We always had a rule. When we start the job, 50% up front. When we're finished with the job and you examine it and you're satisfied, the other 50%. And we work that way all the time. We would have contracts with customers, but never took anything until we showed up. And it worked because they knew they were being treated properly, and they pretty much knew the kind of work that was going to be done because they'd seen it before. And it was recommended by their best friend or somebody else. So I would recommend anyone going into this business or any business, give it your best shot. Do it well. If you do it well, the results are going to testify for themselves, and people will wait for you. That's what I found.
Yeah.
If you're doing good work, someone else is going to undersell you? Okay, no problem. You'll regret that.
Right, you got to wait.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. That's great. Thank you. Good stuff. So, and I think that some things you mentioned there, what draw so many people who come to the academy to this kind of work is the opportunity to see tangible evidence of your work. And you mentioned going back and seeing your work and how it's affected their lives.
Yeah.
And what it looks like in their home. It's the work that you've done. And that's just, taking pride in your work, which contributes to continuing to do it well and showing up and doing what people expect, and impressing them with the quality of your craftsmanship, which will in turn lead to new business. Yeah. And I love how your job turned into this business that was somewhat unexpected, but just happened. And I think marrying just a good work ethic where you take pride in your work with your aspirations, like starting a business. We have so many students who want to start a business. It's awesome. I love that they have those big goals, but it takes that day-to-day showing up and doing the work and doing it well. It's the little thing.
And if it's something that you really like doing, it's not hard to show up and do it well, because for you it's fun. Yeah. It's like getting to do your hobby. That's why I've always looked at it that way. People are paying me to do what I would do for nothing. How weird is that?
Yeah. That is really good. That's the beauty, and that's the beauty of finding things that you love and that you're good at. That money comes in as a result of it as well. Yep. People willing to pay handsomely for it. Tell us a story. I remember you had mentioned along those lines. I remember you had mentioned you had created some kind of a carving of some sort. I'm not remembering exactly what it was, but it was for an NFL player, right? That hired you to do.
Yeah, Ian Gold. My wife, he hired, actually, a friend of my wife knew him. So she mentioned, hey, I know someone who's an interior designer. So he met with her and he hired her to do the interior house. And he was really into lions. Lions, that was like he loved lions. He had lions all over his house, pictures and stuff in the house. And he asked me, if I could make him a table with a lion's head on it. I'm an artist. I mean, I paint. So when he gave me,
is that yours behind you?
Yeah, that's one of the paintings I made. I got paintings all over. So when he hired me to do this thing, I was so excited about it. I was like, let me understand what you want here. You want inlaid work man, I jumped on that job. I didn't really care if he paid me. I wanted to be able to do it.
Yeah.
I bought this, we got this lumber 2 inches thick, and I drew a lion's head on it, and then I carved it out, and we bought different types of wood. So there's no paint or no stain on this thing. And I put a lion's head together on this table. And it came out humbly came up beautiful. I loved it.
You can talk about it. I love it.
Oh, he loved it. It was heavy. It was very, very heavy. But when I brought it over there, we had I did the tabletop, and then I went to an ironsmith, and he made the bottom, which was wrought iron, to mount it on. Mm-hmm. Took it over to his house. It's great. I have a photo. I don't have it handy here with me. So if you want the photo, I can send it to you.
Yeah, I was actually about ready to ask for a photo. I could weave that in somewhere here too, if you can send me one.
I have to email you the photo of the finished product. When you look at it, understand that all the wood that's in there, even the eye of the lion, is natural. It's not created. It's not painted in. It's all. I just went through all these pieces of wood until I get a piece that had a knot in it that looked like the lion's eye, and I put that in there. So everything is inlaid. Then the whole thing was sanded over and finished in polyurethane. Took it over to his house. He loved it. Paid me for it too. Paid me very well. It was a work of art that I was really very proud to do.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
That's so good.
Great.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Well, Winston, we've had a great time, and I imagine looking at the time, it's probably good that I wrap this up. I really appreciate all your thoughts and inspiration. I think this is going to help a lot of people as they're trying to discover what they love to do, what they want to do. Maybe something like, as you were in the military and never even thought about going into tech, that maybe something that they've never thought about before. But as they research and they explore avenues and talk with people, they discover maybe this is one of the things that they're made to do and supposed to do with their lives, and can find meaning and satisfaction and also get paid for it. So
absolutely,
that's huge. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you for contributing to this, but also to the lives of our students as you teach them and mentor them and inspire them as they're going into various new careers. So we appreciate it, and we're glad to have you here at the Academy.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. And thank you for this opportunity. I'll have to get those pictures out to you. I'll have to go find them. But I'll email.
Please do. I want to see those for sure. And I'll try to we use this for video as well. We'll try to work those into that too. So all right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for watching or listening, depending on where you are. And again, just to recap, if you are interested in learning from someone like Winston and interested in the construction field, do contact us at the Colorado Homebuilding Academy. You'll find us at coloradohomebuildingacademy.org. And we would gladly both train you and help you find the individuals who are hiring in this field to help you into your next job and hopefully a next long-term career. So thank you so much for your time, Winston. We really appreciate it. You have a wonderful day.
You too, Brian. Thank you so much for the time. It was my pleasure.
Thank you. You have a good one.
All right, you take care.
Thank you again. We'll catch you. Well, hey everybody, I really hope you enjoyed that interview. Just to recap, if you're looking to get plugged into our program, or you are an employer that would like to hire our students, please do get in touch with us. You can find me at 303-358-4409 or Brian, B-R-I-A-N, at cohomebuildingacademy.org. We have the boot camp that's available to get your start in the construction field, as well as skills trades training, and as well as construction management. I'd love to talk to you about the details of all that. You have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for listening. I'll catch you later. Bye.